So we are heading off on a bit of an adventure. It's going to be a non-stop trip this afternoon. I'm afraid we're unable to go into the Lima enclosure due to social distancing. It's a bit of a tight entrance and exit, but we'll head up the track on this lovely afternoon and have a look and see what animals are out and about today. So on the right hand side you have a tiger taker, home to our Amur tigers. Now these are the largest wild cats out there these days. They're also one of the most endangered. Experts suggest that there's between 400 and 500 of them out there. So they are subject to a very intensive conservation and captive breeding program that will hopefully bring them back from the edge of extinction. Now with such small numbers, that's by no means certain, and it's worth noting that these days there are more of these cats actually in captivity than there are in the wild. So I have just heard the emergency buzzer go. If you'd like to push it again if there is a problem, I'll assume that's just somebody being experimenting. Now on the right hand side here you have our European wolves. Now there are 3 of them in here. I can see 2 of the girls at the moment. They are the largest of the wild dogs, and as I say, these are females. Males are just a little bit larger than them. As you can see by those 2 though, although they've got a lovely thick fur coat, it's not exactly grey. Now grey wolves of course can be grey, but they can be pretty much any colour you'd expect your average domestic dog to be as well. Which is not a huge surprise really when you consider the dogs that were first domesticated some 30,000 years or so ago in ancient China, and they are the origins of all of our domestic breeds, or 350 to 400 or so. Now in the wild they'd be out there hunting for things like reindeer, red deer, elk, wild boar. And find meat, they will eat fruit, nuts and berries, although it's not really their first choice. Their stronghold, well, that is northern Germany, Saxony, and across the border into Poland. But it's increasing. These dogs are doing reasonably well out there. Their head count is going up. About 12,000 they're talking about at the moment. They're coming up next on the right hand side. 3 enclosures devoted to African painted dogs, or painted hunting dogs. We have a small group really, just 2 of them. And in the wild they do live as family groups, 20 to 30, and they are superb predators. They're very fast, they're very organised. So by fast I mean they can get up to speeds of 45 miles an hour. Organised, well, a pack can bring down things like wildebeest, zebra and antelope. And about 80% of the time when they go hunting, that is exactly what happens. Now just behind the big glass panels coming up here on the right hand side, I'm kind of hoping we might see Anan, our red panda. Now he's been a bit elusive, he's a bit of a fidget at the moment. Normally he just sits out all day, but not today. Now he's on a holiday down here with us. In the wild they go out and about for a walkabout, maybe for 3-4 months at a time, so that's why he's down here. He will go back to the breeding group fairly soon, I suspect. Still online if you look up into the trees and climbing frames. Up high you'll see 2 big balls of black fur. That's our binturong, or our bear cats as they're nicknamed up there. They spend 95% of their lives up there. They very rarely come down to the ground. Now if you do get to them, perhaps on the might be able to smell them. They smell of popcorn. That's their wee. It soaks into their back legs, the fur on their back legs and their tail. So they can be quite smelly. Still on the right hand side, the walk-through enclosure. Now you can see the animals that are in there. There's windows at the far end and alongside the giant anteaters. Both have got feeding platforms in front of them, and there's a bachelor group of ring-tailed lemurs in there, along with 2 red-bellied lemurs. On the right hand side here, gelada baboons, the last remaining grazing primate left on Earth. The other species, I'm afraid, have all been hunted to extinction now. To see these in the wild, you'd need to head to Ethiopia and up into the mountains. That's their last remaining stronghold. On the left, our breeding group of ring-tailed lemurs. There's some at the back there, on the back concrete platform. There's 15 in total in there. 13 of those are adults, 2 of them are youngsters. They were born as recently as Easter, which is the time you'd expect them to be born in the youth. It's a very successful breeding group. There's been youngsters in there for at least the last 5 years. Just looking up, still no sign of Annan. He's in there somewhere. On the right hand side, black and white rough lemurs, one of the larger lemur species. Now they live up in the rainforests of Madagascar. Unfortunately for them, they do get hunted an awful lot as bushmeat, and they have a very loud call, second only to howler monkeys, and that sort of gives away their position, I'm afraid, as well as being big and bold coloured. Now, they've been hunted to extinction in various parts of the rainforest at the moment. It is just local extinction. At the top end of the lake there's a flock of Chilean flamingos. Now, there are 35 of the birds over there. That is generally considered to be the minimum number you need to get this species to breed. So fingers crossed, we have got enough of them. But we've also got some dummy eggs out there and some mirrors to encourage them to breed. So fingers crossed, as I say, we could be in for a successful season. Now that lovely pink colour they've got, they get that from their food. When the chicks hatch out, they are grey. And they get fed initially on crop milk from mum, but once they move on to solids, shrimps and crustaceans, they start to go pink. That's because they contain a chemical known as canthaxanthin. As that builds up, the feathers change colour. Now we have it added to the food we use here at the zoo, but it is also added to some foods that you might eat. Some processed meat products, such as sausages, sometimes have it added just to make them look allegedly more appetising. Now, as you travel around the zoo today, I'm sure you'll be picking up on the fact that we do collections for a number of parties throughout the world, all under the umbrella organisation of Action for the Wild. Now, this was set up in 2004, and since then we've been able to collect and donate thousands of pounds to these projects. If you'd like to see where that money goes to and what those projects are, there's a really nice display area at the bottom end of the Komodo dragon section. Lots of photographs, lots of maps. Also information about Mfafa, the nature reserve that we've set up in South Africa. Now these days that's grown to be about 12,000 acres. Now if you feel you would like to support the zoo with its ongoing conservation and charity work, I'll be at the front of the train when we get into the station with a collection pot. Any small change or odd copper coins you care to donate would be very gratefully received. Every single penny does go directly to Action for the Wild. On the right hand side here you have our aardvarks and our rock hyrax. The aardvarks are nocturnal, and unfortunately the tunnel has got to be blocked off at the moment. It's quite narrow and it's a dead end. It doesn't lend itself to social distancing at all well. The rock hyrax, though, they're likely to be out and about. They're nicknamed rock bunnies. They're very fast, they're very agile, they can climb most surfaces, and I think it's fair to say they were a bit of a challenge when they moved in. I think we've got them beat now though. So we're just going to head down into the station. If I could ask you to remain seated until the train comes to a complete halt. Do please remember to take bags and personal belongings with you as you exit the train. And if I could ask you to exit on the side of the train you got into it for me. Now I hope you've enjoyed your journey with us this afternoon, and the road train will run through till about 5 o'clock should anyone fancy another trip. But whatever you choose to do, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at Colchester Zoo.